Blades in the Dark is a tabletop RPG by John Harper. It uses a Powered by the Apocalypse inspired system, and it's really, really great. It has a cool gothic industrial era setting, a simple but very deep system, an active community, and for the most part you can just sit down and play without too much prep other than, reading the rules. Welcome to Polyhedron, I'm Ron. So I got to play a season of games with this system, and I had a lot of fun with it. Here are a few reasons why you might want to check it out. Number one, once you feel you have a good grasp of the rules, you can pretty much just sit down and play. You don't need to prep much or at all if you're the game master. You can, of course, but I like that it's not like a barrier. I did have, for example, D&D games that I had to pause just because I couldn't find the time to prep, and I love preparing D&D games, but there's only so many hours in the day. With Blades, like with many Powered by the Apocalypse games, the story sort of generates organically based on what the players decide to do. So if you know the setting and you know the rules and you have a free evening, that's really all you need. By the way, I plan on making a video on what is Powered by the Apocalypse and what it means and why I love it. This does have a flip side though, everything I said about the game. This is a game where you have to play with very engaged and proactive players. If your players are very used to the D&D style where they're very reactive and they're used to being told a story and then reacting to it, they'll have to change their mindset a little bit. This game, like most PBTA games, relies on player agency and players telling the GM what they want to do in the session, and the GM can pepper in a few prepared stuff in if they want. I'm not saying that you can't be proactive in D&D. I love D&D too. You know what I mean. Number two, the setting is great and it's different and refreshing. Often games that claim to be zero prep games don't really give you enough to work with or to improvise on, and you actually end up making up a lot of the new stuff, which again is super cool but very time consuming. So it's always great when the game comes with a fleshed out setting, which Blades definitely does. And it's built in a way that you can use as little or as much of it as you really want. The game puts you in the city of Duskvol, a place that the game describes as a mashup of Venice, London, and Prague during the Second Industrial Revolution of the 1870s. The city and the world around it is shrouded in perpetual darkness as a result of a cataclysm that shattered the sun 1,000 years ago. That same event also broke the gates of death and let out, all the ghosts which haunt the world. So all the cities have to be surrounded by these walls of lightning to keep out all of the twisted spirits. And what powers these barriers is the electroplasmic blood of massive demonic creatures. So, to quote the actual manual of the game, you're in a haunted Victorian-era city trapped inside a wall of lightning powered by demon blood. So, pretty cool, but the book actually goes through the effort of organizing everything in a brief and consumable way, the gangs that operate in the city, the types of criminals that you might meet, how the government works, and how the city actually not just looks but feels. It's all there. Number three is how the game is designed to throw you right into the action. A session of Blades in the Dark is built like an episode of a TV show, specifically an episode of Peaky Blinders. Seriously, play a few games of Blades in the Dark, then go watch any episode of Peaky Blinders and you'll recognize each beat as the downtime, the job, the payoff. It's great. One of the best things that this game does is once your crew of scoundrels figured out their score for the day, the heist, the assassination, whatever it is that they want to do, the game encourages you to just generally figure out what you want to do, and that's it. Cut to the action. And there's a cool mechanic that lets you spend a resource called stress to do a flashback. And then say, for example, you pickpocketed a guard in advance, so you actually have the key for this locked door that you just came across. And then, of course, you have to roll for it to see, if the thing that you prepared actually worked or got messed up. My experience is that this creates really cool moments and negates the dreaded spending of an hour and a half just talking about what we're gonna do instead of going and doing the cool thing. Number four, and this is cheating because it's kind of the same as number three, is how you don't really have to figure everything out before you get going. But I really want to stress how cool this is in session. So another example is the loadouts. So when you go to do the score, you don't have to say exactly which gear you're taking, just light, medium, or heavy. So high level, are you going in armed to the teeth, or are you just packing a hidden blade or something? And then during the score, reacting to what's happening, you can choose to use up the slots of equipment that your character sheet, say that you brought. So the game is so good for optimizing for cool moments. It doesn't necessarily give you any advantages. You'll still be failing most of your rolls, which is great because it creates more drama. Number 5 is the crew. The crew itself, your gang. This little organization that your players form is a character all on its own. Your crew can advance and get abilities and connections and more territories. There's actually a crew character sheet with all this stuff in there. And it's such a cool mechanic in the game because it essentially, what it does is progressively unlock interesting things that you can use to create new stories. Like your crew, which mostly deals with like smuggling drugs, now has the option to sell those drugs to ghosts or something, which is actually a thing from the game. I promise you that sentence enough can fuel a hilarious, terrifying evening of gaming. Blades in the Dark, cool game. I like it a lot. Go try it, or, go play some other game.